If we are to develop as a country, and this is my opinion, if we are to develop as a country, we need to look at politics not as a way of insulting, not as a way of frustrating, not as a way of fighting the people in positions of authority in their quest to find the right policies and proposals to develop this country. But we should look at politics as a way of bringing our ideas together, our proposals together, and see how they can best help us develop this country. I feel like for the longest time in this country, we just want to fight, insult, and oppose everything that the government wants to do. It's like we just focus on ourselves. Whatever we feel the government has to do, we wish it were us. And that is why even in the past, you find that when proposals that seem to be, developmental for this country are opposed. Every time when a government brings up, oh, we wish to do this, but before we can do it, we feel like if you help us maybe amend this, or if you help us do, people just be like, no, it will be a wastage of resources. Hey, we do not have time. Hey, let's look at productive things. There are certain things that look unproductive when you're not the one in power. The moment you get in power, then you realize, oh, this is what our friends were saying. And I have a problem because most of us that are not in these positions of authority, whatever the government proposes, we will fight it and we will shoot it down. Until it is us there, that's when we are like, oh, so this is what they meant. For the longest time in our country, we have talked about inequalities. We have complained about women not being involved in politics. We have complained about women not being appointed in positions of authority. We have complained about some constituencies being too big. We have complained about some districts not receiving any form of development. And these are things that we see. These are things that we hear. These are things that we read about. But the moment when a government proposes, for us to achieve this, this is the only way, then we start fighting those proposals. Let's just look at the issue of women representation in positions of authority and also in parliament. What do you think is the cause? To think, why is it that we have very few members of parliament in parliament? Why is it that we have very few women, representing us in these government institutions? Why? What do you think? According to the Permanent Secretary for Gender Division, this is the reason.
Women out there fear to come out due to financial constraints. So sometimes they want to come out and declare that they're interested in participating as parliamentarians. But the problem is they don't have as much muscle as a male.
According to her, the reason why most of our women fear to engage themselves in politics, the reason why we do not have a lot of female representation at councillor level and at MP level, is because our women lack finances. This, political arena has been dominated by a lot of male folks. Some of them who have been in parliament for years and years and years, and it looks normal to people. We just want our women to be the ones kulela bana kumanyumba. Yet we have seen in some constituencies where women are members of parliament or where women are council chairpersons, there's some level of development compared to those that have been in parliament for more than 15 years. Now, if this is the problem, what can we do to ensure that our women also participate, to ensure that our girls also participate, to ensure that our youth also participate? Because no matter how much we talk, this issue of finances will always be there. So if women do not find finances to get into politics, they will never be in these positions of authority. They will never be appointed. And this is where NGOCC, through their chairperson, make these recommendations to the government in power.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, women face unique challenges in accessing political space due to deeply entrenched gender norms and inequalities, as well as a lack of affirmative action through legal and policy frameworks. This, Mr. President, brings us to our ongoing advocacy to increase the representation of women in Parliament through a mixed member proportional representation to ensure that women's voices are heard in decision-making processes of this country.
Simple, simple. That is the recommendation from one of the organizations who say, we want our women to participate in these politics. We want them to engage in these elections so that we have at least like a 50-50 kind of representation in parliament. By so doing, we will allow our women to participate in politics and express themselves and also make proposals on what they feel could be the solutions to the problems that are affecting them. Now, after these, the proposals that are made, the president sits down and realize that some of the recommendations that are coming from organizations like NGOs, okay, change in Nigeria. We need the constitution to be amended.
Now, let me lastly say that in order to do these things, like bringing proportional representation, appointing more women through the presidential appointments, and doing, if you like, creating more constituencies, we need a constitutional amendment. We need a constitutional amendment, and we are willing to do that. We pronounced it in my last address to Parliament, and we want to invite all the stakeholders, civil society, churches, traditional leaders, to support the constitutional amendments that will allow for us to bring more women in Parliament, either through direct election or through proportional representation. I take it that as a nation, we agreed that we will amend the constitution before the 2026 elections so we can deliver more opportunities for women and the society as a whole.
Then some people will be there saying, no, it can't be done now. Hey, in the past, we proposed this. Hey, you refuse. Okay, so if you proposed it in the past and they refuse, and now that they are there, they have brought it to your attention, what is making you change your mind? Because you thought this was the way it was going to improve this country. Now that the proposal is there, not just from the government in power, but also from the civil society organizations, what is so bad about going through this route? We just want to be complaining every day about women not participating. We want to be complaining about the youth not having opportunities. We just want this political arena to be male dominated. If delimitation is what is going to bring about development in constituencies, let us do it. If amending the constitution is what is going to give us the mixed member proportionate system, let's do it so that we have a proper representation of people in parliament. We shouldn't just have the same people every day and only the males, just doing yaya because obviously some of you just wait for allowances. Let's focus as a country. Let's not just be fighting anyhow or opposing things anyhow. When things are developmental, let's just say, this one is developmental, let's go with it. Do not wait until it is you in government for certain things to move. Let's push together. Ina mzambo ni kamba mwandi na otherwise in any country develop. I've not moved to a lot of countries, but I have at least gone to one country. That country there has got nothing to boast about, I think, apart from their ore and the water that surrounds them, which is also full of salt because in Masi. But when you go there, you feel like you're in paradise. Everybody wants to go there and it can see that even amizira kuti ni masatanist. Why now satanist? They just know what they want for their country. But it's here, whatever idea is progressive, we shoot it down. In a month, I want this country to develop. It doesn't matter what you think or say about me. But if something is progressive, I will agree with it. Mixed member proportionate system, Tifuna. We want equal numbers in that parliament. We want the women to be there. We want the youth to be there. We want the disabled to be there. We want to hear it from the people that are affected, not those that just feel or think that group is affected. All the groups must be represented in there. Mr. President, members of parliament, civil society organizations, if it takes us to do delimitation Yama constituencies to develop this country, let's go with it. If it takes us to amend the constitution in order for us to have a proper representation of people, like NGOCC has recommended, let's go with it. It is for our own benefit. It is for the benefit of our children. It is for the benefit of Zambia's future. Let's do it.